Mall of America. It's home to world-class shopping, great dining, and amazing attractions and events. And these are our stories, presented by Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism. Hello and welcome, everyone, to So Much More. I am Jill Runslow and Dan Jasper. We are your co-hosts for today's episode of So Much More. So we are just a couple weeks since we were cheering on our athletes from the USA for the Winter Olympics. And as that wraps up, there were so many unforgettable moments and just really watching world-class competition. And the USA delivered. They brought home a lot of medals, and we're very proud as spectators and fans. And, it gave us these amazing moments, and we're reflecting on those games today because there was a lot of excitement. And we are with someone who knows that stage firsthand. Natalie Darwitz is a Minnesota hockey legend, three-time Olympic medalist, and one of the most accomplished players in women's hockey history. From representing Team USA on the world's biggest stage to now developing the next generation of athletes through Darwitz Hockey Development. We're going to learn all about that today. So Natalie has experienced that Olympic journey firsthand, from competition to mentorship, and we're excited to talk about her time as an Olympian, her perspective on the games we just watched, and the work she's doing to grow the future of what she loves, hockey. So Natalie, welcome to So Much More.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
This is so much fun because we all probably know exactly where we were watching the women win gold, the men win gold, and just the excitement and the fandom and to be able to bring that home. So you've experienced that firsthand. So I'd love to just hear your feedback on how that was to watch those teams go to victory, but then also what that reminded you of the experience that you've had firsthand.
Yeah, it was obviously, first of all, spectacular. In my three Olympics, we came up short with silver, bronze, silver. So to see them obviously come on top with gold as an alumni and as a proud former player of USA Hockey, and obviously just an American in general. Super proud of them. And women's hockey has come so far since 1998 when that was the first Olympics it was in. And so just from my Olympics from 2002 to 2010 and where it is now and where it is on the global stage, it's just come so far. So, we used to talk about every 4 years we would get a 2-week period, and now women's hockey is in the limelight consistently, and that's really positive to see. And that's why I think on both the men's and women's side, you're seeing the success now because that happened, 5, 10, 15 years ago with them lacing up the skates and getting involved. And just to see where hockey has grown, especially in Minnesota as well, those numbers are increasing. So I don't think you're going to see the U.S. go away from the medal stand just based on our numbers and participation and what we've done here, not only as a state for hockey, but across the nation, how it's growing in the southern regions and California. Just as a past Olympian, it's really cool to understand what a gold medal day brings and staying in the village. And, it's different than a normal game day setting because you're in a village setting, you're with other athletes, you're eating in a cafeteria, you're not eating just with your team. So those behind the scenes things, it's really cool to understand what they're going through and preparing for those gold medal game days and just being at the Olympics in general.
So what was that like, your very first time, arriving at the Olympics, walking through the village and being like, I'm representing Team USA.
And where was that Olympics, the first one?
First Olympics, I was lucky enough. 2 out of my 3 Olympics were in North America. So my first Olympics was in Salt Lake. And so the other background on that was on the heels of 9/11. And so the patriotism, the meaning of that Olympics was extra strong. And for it to be on, obviously, the U.S. soil took on a whole new meaning. So, just flying in, the first thing not many people realize, and social media has brought in a lot of light to date on what athletes go through in the day-to-day. First thing you do when you get off a plane, it's probably the most fun and the most surreal experience, is you basically go to a big warehouse setting and you get all of your apparel. You try it on. So whatever company is involved in partnering with the Olympics, whether that's Ralph Lauren or back in 2002, I believe it was Roots.
Okay, sure.
But Ralph Lauren did, I think, the other two. Nike's a big part of it. So you basically grab a shopping cart and you literally just walk around the warehouse in order. They have it organized. And they say, you signed up for a medium. Here it is. Try it on. Doesn't fit? Okay, here's another size. And they make sure, here's hemming. And you basically, by the end of the couple hours, you have a shopping cart full of Team USA gear. And so it's just like a really cool, surreal moment. You get credentialed. Obviously, you see in a lot of pictures the athletes wearing the lanyard and the credentials. That's your ticket into everything, and VIP behind the scenes stuff. And so that's the first thing we do before we set foot in the village is we're thrown into this processing is what they call it. And then you go to the village and you always go through security. And so, on the heels of 9/11, just the security that was present of the buses getting swept from the mirrors and the dogs and coming on inside the bus, everything was just very secure. And so every Olympics was different as far as the village. Had really great village setups, and in most cases, you had a roommate. Some of the older veterans had a single if they were lucky. But the village is actually what you think. It's literally a little village for athletes and the staff, and they have different things on site from the cafeteria to a game room to a weight room to mental health to massage therapists. So anything you kind of you need in your own little world as an athlete, they provide it. I remember I got my hair cut at the village, it's all those services are free. And so it just makes you feel for those 2 weeks that you're a celebrity. I think the biggest part for me was that's all fun and that all makes you feel good. But the moment I think was an aha moment for me was our first practice. They had Olympic rings on the ice.
Okay.
And the moment you skated over those rings, you're like, you got the goosebumps, you got all the feels.
Yes.
So that was the first personal moment for me was like, you made it. Mm-hmm. The next one was huge was, I always had hockey players are known for their superstitions. And every game I would find my parents in the stands and family. And, before I exited the ice after warm-ups, I would give them a wave. And that moment, brought emotion because it's not about you. So many people helped you get you there.
Absolutely.
And so that moment I get, choked up now thinking about it. But that moment finding them was just like, they made it too. They made it happen. These people made it happen. It takes an army. So that was a moment that was, very gratifying and rewarding as well. So
I'm sure your parents were in the stands being big and loud so that you could find them easily because that sense of pride is very special. As you know now as a mom yourself and cheering your kids along the way, it's a village that takes that success journey to be able to bring to all the practices and all the camps and all the things that lead up to that. But I mean, what an amazing opportunity for young people, especially when you're talking about the trajectory of the U.S. and the success that's in the future for U.S. to be in that medal stand for future years, for young people to look up to that and admire what's possible for them is really exciting.
Where was 06 and 10?
Yeah,
what locations? And how did they kind of differ from Salt Lake?
Everyone was very different. So, like I said, 02 was Salt Lake. 2006, ironically, was Turin, Italy.
Okay.
So just north of Milan. So we flew into Milan, and then I think it was a little, quick little flight up to Torino. And then 2010 was Vancouver, Canada, which, we all know that Canada thinks hockey's their own. And that was a hockey-crazed Olympics. So in Salt Lake, we played in they didn't have an NHL team at that time, but it was a really good sized venue called the East Center. And then in Torino, they built theirs, and European rinks are a little bit different anyways, and just European setups. And then in 2010, we played where the Vancouver Canucks play. So we were in an 18,000 plus venue.
Nice.
And those games were sold out, and it was a lot of fun. But they were all very different. I would say, I hold Salt Lake near and dear a little bit more to my heart just based off it was my first one. It was on U.S. soil.
Yeah.
Vancouver was amazing because they really gravitated towards the hockey, and we were kind of in hostile territory being Americans, right? And how you saw a glimpse of that with U.S. Canada in the last Olympics. But I was fortunate that two of them were in North America, as I spoke about my family and people that went. Just made it so much easier financially. There's a lot of financial strain. People, I think, just assume, you fly first class, your family goes for free, you get free tickets. It's like, no, it's not really like that. It's like they had to, plan for this and take out a mortgage and do fundraising and all that stuff. And so financially, it helped. Time zone, it helped, when I was 18, I was technically a senior in high school at Egan High School.
Wow.
So my classmates were literally watching it in real time.
Wow.
Back at Egan High School, And so just to have that time zone, whereas right now, like, honestly, for one of the games, I forgot one of the games was on at noon a couple weeks ago. And it was like, it's 7 o'clock over there, duh. So you kind of take that things for granted, or I just loved how everybody was... first world problems, like, how come the gold medal men's game's on at 7 a.m.? It's like the world doesn't revolve around,
on a
us.
Sunday.
It's our time zone. It's like over there, it's so it's but all three were great. They all had their differences, but at the end of the day, they things stood out. To go to a different country in, Italy and see that and experience that was really cool too. So, again, 2 in North America was great because prior to Milan, they were heavily in Asian countries, which again is a greater time zone, greater travel, greater financial strain. So,
So were there any athletes in these games that you really kept your eye on that you just were stand out, whether it was a hockey player or not? I mean, obviously there were a lot of U.S. athletes, but also a lot of Minnesota athletes. We're very proud that we were the second largest state or state that brought the most athletes to the Olympics. But is there anybody that you were watching closely?
Yeah, I think, one of the cool experiences that when we were an athlete in the 3 Olympics is you get to go to other events if your schedule allows, right? And if it's appropriate. So I've never seen short track speed skating before, or long track, skiing, the snow events. And so, obviously I probably care about hockey the most, being biased, but I mean, you can't pass up the Lindsey Vonn story, even though it didn't end the way we wanted to. The fact that 40-something years old makes a comeback.
It's amazing.
It's just an amazing competitive story.
Yep.
And, she's probably sitting, held up right now in a hotel room with her knee all banged up, but she can at least lie on that bed going, I have no regrets. I tried.
Yep.
It didn't work out in my favor, but I know I gave it my all.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool story. I think Michaela Schifrin finally getting on the gold back on the medal stand, I think is a really cool story. And so there's just, you just through these athletes for 2 weeks every, 2 years with the Summer Olympics happening, you just find these individual stories that are really cool and inspire you and hopefully are inspiring generations to come to do the same. So Mike Tirico's, what do you want to call it, monologue at the end of the gold medal game, I think that awesome. Says it all. Like it started with a dream. And in the men's hockey, the women's hockey dream started long ago. And so it's those people watching right now. Yep. That's when the dream starts. And I just think he did a phenomenal job encapsulating all that into a 2-minute monologue. So it was really cool.
I think there were a lot of sound bites and moments that a lot of people took away from the games, and I agree. I think he summed it up really well. But those dreams do start early, and I think being able to inspire young people as they're finding their passions and what their families can support them in is really special. I loved watching Alyssa Liu, the figure skater, and her story, and it was true, the fact that there's a lot of pressure when you're young and you're growing up with these sports and being able to perform, but then also recognizing when you need to step away sometimes. There's been a lot of conversations around the stresses, the weight of the pressure, especially when you're at the Olympic level. But hearing her story and just seeing her on the ice and seeing the joy that she had, and it was just, it was so fun to watch her. So that pressure is real. We've seen it across multiple athletes. I think the last couple of years it's been much more public in what they've been able to say. What are your thoughts, as you coach young people as well, and making sure that they have that balance of being able to strive for success through competition, but also making sure that they're enjoying life and they're being young people and kids, because there's a lot of pressure early on?
I mean, I think the young ages are relatively easy. It's a no-brainer. It's supposed to be fun. That's why you play. As you go up the ranks and wins and losses become a factor and your performance becomes a factor, then in comes the stress, and that might not be as fun anymore. And just the competitive world it's no joke. I mean, so to hear those stories of mental health and taking a break and taking a time out and saying, you know what, I'm not at my best today. I'm going to take a step away. I think that's huge. My own story with that a little bit is people always are like, did you only play 3 years of college hockey? And I'm like, yes, I chose not to play my fourth because I was absolutely burnt out.
Wow. Okay.
I made the U.S. team when I was 15 years old. I left home when I was 17 and 18 to train for the first Olympics that I was in. And so I was gone from home in that competitive on the U.S. The U.S. is cutthroat. It's like, 1 minute you have a roommate, the next minute she might not be there because of the cuts that need to be made in the final roster spots. And so you see a lot of stuff that is tough on your heart, right? And so when I was done with the 2006 Olympics, I was just constantly living out of a suitcase. Us Minnesotans anyways are homebodies. It's like for us to leave, it's like, no. And I just felt like my life was constant, like going to the airport. Like I used to have anxiety driving on 494 to the airport. I was like, I have to leave again. And so I just was like, time out, I'm done. I just want to take a break. And I took that break. And I thought, honestly, I was done. And that was at a very young age. I think I was 22 or 23 at the time. And that year off, I missed it. I realized I wanted to go back. It fueled me to go to the 2010 Olympics. So taking that time off and taking that time out, yes, it was a year that I'm, in retrospect, like, did I miss out at a year? Did I make the right decision to not go back to the University of Minnesota? Hindsight's 2020, but it fueled me for the next Olympics to train 3 more years and to continue my career. So I do feel like, any of the teams I coach and, the high school players that I might work with, it's a kid's game. It's got to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's competitive pressure. Yes, that's okay. But you got to know when, and when we always trained, one of the trainers he's a legend in the hockey world. His name was Jack Blatherwick. We would do off-ice training with him and then on ice in the summers. And he always said, if you are not salivating to come, don't come. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get as much out of your training. You're just checking a box, and some of the times with the athletes now, the resources they have, they're on the ice for 2 hours. They're in the weight room for 2 hours. They're watching video for 2 hours. It's like, no, like what is actually productive? And to me, like our off-ice training with him would consist of, instead of doing sprints end to end, let's go play tennis. You don't realize you just did 50 sprints in that 30 minutes, but you were having fun.
You had fun.
You were hooting and hollering and you were having fun with your buddy. You were trying to beat. If I said, we're going to do 30 sprints here to here, you probably would have gave us the finger and walked out. Mm-hmm. Instead, we did something fun. So I think that's what it has to be. I think so often you see elite athletes and their training regimen, you gotta have, it's a kid's game. It's gotta be fun. You gotta have that involved. It's gotta be the foundation of it.
I love that philosophy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they work hard, but to enjoy it. Yeah. And I have to go back really quick, if I may, quick.
Absolutely.
You talked about how social media has changed things. And during the Olympics, I actually am on TikTok, which people that watch this show know that I'm on TikTok a lot. I followed a couple of U.S. athletes who were always in the commissary or the cafeteria reviewing food.
Oh, yes.
It was
I
hilarious.
saw the Nutella pump. They were like, you can actually put Nutella on your waffles.
So I just want to know, what's the food like?
At every Olympics, it's different. But honestly, where everything happens is literally the cafeteria. In our Olympics, we did have the men's NHL hockey players. So growing up in Minnesota, you guys are right across from the old Met Center.
Yes.
I grew up watching Mike Modano. To walk into the cafeteria and see Mike Modano and to get to have a conversation with him. He was my childhood, hero. But everything happens in the cafeteria. So that's where people literally, if you talk about the Olympic Village, they're going to spend 80% of their time in their, room or common area of their U.S. headquarters. And the rest of the time they're going to spend in the cafeteria. Probably not even eating, just hanging out. Who's going to walk in? What Olympic? Like it was Apollo Ono in our Olympics. And but the food is great. They, obviously, nutrition is a huge part of the performance. So it's not going to be something where you can't find. They're going to have every category. Yeah. They're going to have every category from your salad bars to your fruits to your vegetables, just simple stuff. But they're going to have then food stations around. pasta, like every category they're going to have. And obviously being in Italy, they probably specialize in the pastas, the pizzas.
Yep.
But I remember, at Salt, like at all three of them, it was like, it was never an issue that it was like, oh, what am I gonna do? It was, they had everything and anything. And in most cases, those people that are at the Olympics, whether they're doing security, whether they're checking your credential, whether they're working the cafeteria, they're there because they want to be there. So if there's a special need, like, hey, there's a burger here, there's no cheese left, would you mind? Not a problem. So they're there for the athletes, and they're there because they want to be. And so the food is phenomenal, but I think every Olympics has like their niche. You saw the Nutella in Italy. I think the other one was it in the Summer Olympics? Didn't they have like a chocolate muffin?
Yes.
Yeah.
That people highlighted,
Yeah,
yes.
it was a big hit. So every Olympics will have that certain,
How fun.
funny thing that the village offers. But honestly, I can't remember back in my days what it was. But
So what about, what was the food that you indulge in after playing in the Olympics that you could just not worry about the nutrition and just be like, okay, you know what, I deserve this?
They'll definitely have those stations. I think, and correct me, I don't quote me on this right now, but in our 3 Olympics, there was a McDonald's literally in the cafeteria, like a full-blown McDonald's. They set it up. And so you would see like when you knew when an athlete was done competing, because he would walk out with like 10 cheeseburgers and fries and malts and the McFlurry. So you would know when someone was done competing because they would be hitting up McDonald's. And, especially when they were really done competing, if it was 2, 3 in the morning, they'd be at McDonald's after they had some nightlife.
Yes, some of those celebratory stories were fun to follow this year too.
So I know that's in those 3 Olympics, it was, everyone kind of indulge in the McDonald's. It would get old after like a day or two. But they do, like, even though we think of athletes in high nutrition, they did have the hamburgers, the French fry stations. They did have that. And so the pizzas. And actually a lot of us, I remember after we were done playing, pizza is a decent post-game meal that hockey players frequent. So
there we go. Well, we love the fact that you are a Minnesota girl. In and out. Grew up literally miles away from All of America in Eagan, Minnesota, which was so exciting. You're a gopher, as you mentioned, led that team to great success, 3-time Olympian, like just an amazing career. Now, tell us about your development program, what you guys have started with your Darwitz Hockey Development and what that looks like.
When I was playing, I never really was interested in coaching. My dad kind of knew best, and he twisted my arm to get out there and to help the next generation. And so I was reluctant to do so. And then when I got out there, all of a sudden I was going every day and absolutely fell in love with it. So I think all of life is about, what can you give back to, and what are your strengths, and what can you then give back to? And so I started Darwitz Hockey Development when I was playing probably like 10, 15 years ago. And it's very small, but I do private group lessons, small group lessons. I have a small hockey clinic. And I just like to stay involved. So I work with anywhere from, little boys and girls learning how to tie up the skates, to learn how to skate, to I have collegiate players in the summer come back and work with me. And it's not team setting. It's small group skills type setting. So it's a lot of fun. And then the other thing I'm in part of right now is we have a project called the Minnesota Hockey Hall of Fame that we're getting started. And so big part of that right now, and that's really exciting. We have so much history in this state of hockey, and everybody, we always joke about it's not a 6 degree of separation that most people have. It's a 1 or 2 in hockey world. And so we're really excited to give that a home and to share what our great state has to offer through the sport that has given the state so much and people so many memories and opportunities. And, just talking about the 9 Olympians from the both U.S. men's and women's team, to highlight them. And if that place was up and running, it would be highlighting them right now and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm up to right now, still involved in hockey, passionate about hockey, but just feel like life is about full circle giving back. And now that I'm old and can't compete anymore, it's how do I help the next generation get to possibly and dream and get to the opportunities that I was able to and be fortunate enough to get to.
Absolutely. So what would be that advice that you would give to young aspiring athletes that are finding their passion, whether it be hockey or another sport or another talent of some sort? What's your advice to them?
I kind of spoke about it a couple questions ago, but do something that you love and you're passionate about. For me, it was when I woke up in the morning, the first thing on my mind was hockey. And I remember I got, I was the youngest sibling of 3, and my brother played hockey, and I followed in his footsteps. So I always got hand-me-downs from my brother's skates to gloves, you name it. I was in my brother's equipment. And I remember getting my first pair of gloves. Like, I slept in those things. I was so excited. So I was just, like, it was my love. And I just followed that. And there's ups and downs. There's going to be ups and downs. You're going to have adversity. You're going to have great moments. But when I had adversity or when I had struggles, I knew I loved the game. And that's what I wanted to do. And so my encouragement is find that passion that you have, like what gets you out of bed, and go follow that thing, and don't let anybody or any obstacles get in your way.
That is awesome. Great advice. I love that. And I could keep talking. I love this conversation, and I think you're just such an inspiration to not only athletes, but such pride here in Minnesota to have you represent us as a state, but also as a country. So congratulations on all your success. It's amazing.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. So to all of our fans out there, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you're continuing to celebrate the success that USA had at the Olympics. We're so proud of all the athletes, and it's exciting to be able to share all the pride and the talent that we have here in Minnesota. So wherever you follow, rate your favorite podcast, definitely keep us in mind and share this with your friends and family. It's a fun story to share. So until next time, we'll see you soon on So Much More. Thanks for listening to So Much More, a Mall of America podcast. Subscribe wherever you find your favorite podcasts. This show is presented by Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism.